Imagine walking into your kitchen and opening the fridge only to realize that some of the foods you've trusted for years might actually be quietly stealing your health and energy. After 60, what you put on your plate doesn't just fill your stomach. It directly affects how strong your muscles stay, how sharp your mind feels, and how long your heart keeps beating strong. Today we're going to reveal the 4 worst meats you should avoid after 60 and the 4 that can actually help you stay strong, energized, and vibrant well into your golden years. But before we dive in, I want you to do something for me. Write down in the comments how old you are right now. I want to know who's watching, whether you're in your early 60s, your 70s, or even your 80s. Let's build a community of people who are taking charge of their health together. And don't forget to subscribe, because every week we bring you life-changing health advice you won't want to miss. Let's start with the problem. Many of us grew up in a world where eating meat was the centerpiece of every meal. A juicy steak, fried chicken, bacon in the morning. These foods became comfort foods, traditions, part of our identity. But here's the shocking truth. Not all meats are created equal, and some of the ones you probably love the most could now be working against your body. After 60, your metabolism slows, your arteries become more vulnerable to clogging, your joints become more sensitive to inflammation, and your muscles naturally begin to shrink in a process called sarcopenia. That means the type of protein you choose becomes more important than ever. If you pick the wrong meats, you're fueling disease. If you pick the right ones, you're adding years of strength to your life. Now let's talk about the first category, the worst meats. Number 1 on the list is processed meats. I'm talking about bacon, sausages, hot dogs, ham, deli meats. These are the meats that have been smoked, cured, or treated with preservatives like nitrates and nitrites. What's the danger? Multiple large studies, including data from the World Health Organization, show that processed meats are linked to higher risks of colorectal cancer, heart disease, and even early death. Why? Because those nitrates turn into nitrosamines in your body, chemicals known to damage DNA. And if you've ever noticed how salty these meats taste, that's another problem. Excess sodium raises your blood pressure, which increases your risk of strokes and heart attacks. And let's be honest, after 60, hypertension is already knocking on the door for many of us. Now I want to ask you directly, how often do you eat processed meats? Write it in the comments. Be honest. Have you been a bacon lover all your life? Or maybe you grab sliced ham for sandwiches without thinking twice? Share it with us below. The second meat to avoid, red meat that's high in saturated fat. Think marbled steaks, ribs, lamb chops dripping in fat. The saturated fat in these meats raises LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol, which deposits plaque in your arteries. Over time, that leads to narrowing of blood vessels, reduced circulation, and higher risk of heart attack. A study from Harvard followed over 120,000 people for decades and found that those who ate the most red meat had a significantly higher risk of dying from heart disease and cancer. Here's something you may not realize. After 60, your body's ability to handle saturated fat decreases. That means the same steak that didn't harm you in your 30s could now be contributing to clogged arteries in your 60s. I know this might be hard to hear if steak night is part of your routine, but trust me, you'll feel the difference when you swap it out. And I'm curious, have you ever noticed that after eating a heavy, fatty meal, you feel sluggish, bloated, or even have chest discomfort? Drop a comment and let us know your experience. The third meat on the avoid list is fried chicken. Yes, I said it. Fried chicken might be tasty, but it's one of the worst choices for people over 60. The combination of saturated fat from the chicken skin and the trans fats that come from deep frying create a toxic storm in your arteries. Trans fats are especially dangerous because they not only raise LDL cholesterol, but also lower your HDL cholesterol, the good cholesterol your body needs to clear out plaque. That's a double hit against your heart. On top of that, Fried chicken often contains a high amount of sodium from seasoning and breading. If you have arthritis, fried foods can also increase inflammation, making joint pain worse. So think about it. The crispy skin might bring joy for a few minutes, but the long-term cost to your heart and joints just isn't worth it. And number 4, organ meats in excess. Now, this one might surprise you because liver, kidney, and other organ meats are actually packed with nutrients like iron and vitamin A. But here's the problem. They're also very high in cholesterol and purines. Purines break down into uric acid, which can trigger gout, a painful condition that many older adults struggle with. If you've ever had a sudden stabbing pain in your big toe or ankle, you know what I'm talking about. And organ meats can make that worse. Plus, too much vitamin A from liver can actually be toxic, leading to bone loss and even liver damage. So while a little bit of liver pâté once in a while might not hurt, making organ meats a regular part of your diet after 60 is a dangerous choice. Now that we've covered the worst meats, don't get discouraged. Because here's the good news. There are meats and proteins that can actually protect your muscles, support your brain, and keep your heart healthy. And we're going to talk about 4 of them in detail. But before we do, I want to ask you, have you struggled with giving up a favorite meat? Maybe you tried cutting down on bacon or fried chicken, but it was harder than you thought. Write about it in the comments. Sharing your story could inspire someone else to make the change too. So now that we've gone through the 4 worst meats to avoid after 60, let's turn to the good news. Because the story isn't just about restriction, it's about replacement. When you swap unhealthy choices for better ones, you don't just reduce risk, you actively build health. And the right meats can become some of your best allies in the fight against aging, muscle loss, and chronic disease. Let's walk through 4 of the very best meats you can eat after 60, and why they make such a difference. The first one on the list is fish, especially fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, and trout. These fish are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which have been studied extensively for their heart protective benefits. Omega-3s help lower triglycerides, reduce inflammation, and even improve brain health. For seniors, that last point is crucial. Cognitive decline is one of the greatest fears after 60, and omega-3 OS help keep brain cells flexible and communication flowing between neurons. A study published in Neurology found that older adults with higher levels of omega-3s had larger brain volumes and better memory. Think about that. Eating fish can literally protect your brain from shrinking. And for your heart, omega-3 EOR lower the risk of arrhythmias, keep blood pressure in check, and improve circulation. I want to ask you here, how often do you eat fish in a week? Write it in the comments. If it's less than 2 times, it's time to change that. And if you already eat it several times, share your favorite recipe. It might inspire someone else. The second meat that deserves a place on your plate is skinless poultry, especially chicken breast and turkey. Unlike fried chicken, which we talked about earlier, lean poultry that's grilled, baked, or roasted gives you high-quality protein without the excess saturated fat. Protein is your armor against sarcopenia, the age-related muscle loss that can make you weak, increase your risk of falls, and lower your independence. After 60, you need more protein, not less. Many seniors mistakenly cut back on protein because they think it's hard to digest or unnecessary, but that's a myth. Research shows that older adults who consume enough protein maintain stronger muscles, better balance, and even better immune systems. Turkey, in particular, is also rich in tryptophan, which supports serotonin production and can help regulate mood and sleep. And chicken breast is versatile, easy to cook, and pairs well with almost any vegetables. If you're watching, let me know. Do you prefer chicken or turkey? And how do you usually prepare it? Comment below. Because simple swaps like baking instead of frying can transform your health. Number 3 on our best list is grass-fed beef, but in moderation. Wait, you might be surprised because didn't we just say red meat was harmful? The difference here is quality and portion size. Grass-fed beef contains more omega-3s and conjugated linoleic acid, CLA, which has anti-inflammatory properties. It also has less total fat and a healthier fat profile than grain-fed beef. For seniors who enjoy steak, switching to grass-fed versions and keeping the portion small, around 3-4 ounces, means you can still enjoy the flavor while reducing the risks. Plus, beef is one of the best sources of absorbable iron and vitamin B12, two nutrients that are crucial after 60. Low B12 can cause fatigue, nerve damage, and even memory problems. And iron helps prevent anemia, which saps energy and makes daily life harder. So the key here is moderation and quality. It's not about never eating beef again, it's about making it smarter. If you've ever tried grass-fed beef, write in the comments what you thought. Did you notice a difference in taste? The fourth and final category is lean pork cuts, such as tenderloin and loin chops. Pork often gets a bad reputation, but lean cuts can actually be very healthy. Pork tenderloin, for example, is as lean as skinless chicken breast and provides an excellent source of protein, thiamine, and zinc. Thiamine supports energy metabolism and nerve function, while zinc boosts the immune system. For seniors who may have weaker immune responses, getting enough zinc is critical. And when pork is prepared by grilling, baking, or slow cooking instead of frying, it can be both delicious and heart-friendly. Here's a fun fact. In a study comparing different proteins for muscle building in older adults, pork was just as effective as chicken or beef in supporting lean muscle mass. So don't be afraid of pork. It can fit into a balanced diet if you choose wisely. Tell me in the comments, have you tried pork tenderloin? How do you like to cook it? Now, we've covered the good and the bad, but I want to go deeper. Because it's not just about individual meats, it's about patterns of eating. When you fill your plate mostly with whole foods, plenty of vegetables, and lean proteins, you're not only protecting your heart, you're extending your life. There's a concept called protein distribution that's particularly important for older adults. Instead of eating all your protein in one big dinner, spreading it evenly across breakfast, lunch, and dinner helps your body use it more efficiently for muscle repair. For example, having Greek yogurt with nuts in the morning, grilled chicken salad for lunch, and baked salmon for dinner gives your muscles the steady supply of amino acids they need to stay strong. Let's also talk about real-life stories. One of my patients, a 72-year-old man, used to eat bacon and fried chicken almost every day. His cholesterol was high, he had gout attacks, and he felt constantly fatigued. When we switched him to a diet that included salmon twice a week, chicken breast, and occasional grass-fed beef, within 3 months, his energy improved dramatically. His blood work showed lower triglycerides and his uric acid levels dropped, reducing gout flares. He even said he felt 10 years younger. Another woman, in her late 60s, used to avoid meat altogether because she thought it was unhealthy, but she was struggling with weakness and losing weight unintentionally. When she added lean poultry and fish back into her diet, she regained muscle, slept better, and felt more stable on her feet. These stories prove that it's not about eliminating meat, it's about choosing the right ones. And here's something else I want you to think about: affordability and accessibility. Some seniors worry that eating healthy means spending more, but frozen fish, chicken breasts bought in bulk, and even canned salmon or sardines can be affordable and just as nutritious. The key is planning ahead, keeping healthy proteins on hand, and avoiding the temptation of processed meats that are cheap but dangerous. Before we move into practical tips and myth-busting in the final part of this video, I want to pause and ask you, have you ever felt overwhelmed trying to decide what's healthy and what's not? Do you sometimes get confused by the conflicting advice out there about meat, protein, and aging? Share your thoughts in the comments. You're not alone. This confusion is common, and that's why we're here to break it down clearly. Now that we have seen both sides, the meats to avoid and the meats to embrace, let S move into the practical side. Because the truth is, knowing what's good or bad is only half the battle. The real challenge is changing habits and making those changes sustainable in your daily life. After all, food is more than just nutrition. It's culture, comfort, and habit. So let's explore how to make these shifts work in real life. One of the biggest myths out there is that seniors need as much protein because they are less active. That's simply not true. In fact, after 60, your protein needs actually go up, not down. Your muscles become less responsive to protein, a phenomenon known as anabolic resistance. That means you need a higher amount of protein at each meal to stimulate muscle repair and growth. Experts recommend around 1.2 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight for older adults. So if you weigh 70 kilograms, that means about 84 to 105 grams of protein daily. That's more than many people realize. And it doesn't have to come all from meat. Dairy, legumes, and nuts count too. But the right meats can provide high-quality protein that's easier to absorb. So if you've ever thought, I don't need much protein anymore, I want you to let go of that myth today. Another common myth is that all red meat is bad. We already touched on this when talking about grass-fed beef, but let's emphasize it again. The danger isn't necessarily in the meat itself, it's in the processing, the fat content, and the portion size. A small serving of high-quality beef once or twice a week can actually support your iron and B12 levels, which many seniors struggle with. The key is balance. Think of meat as part of your plate, not the whole plate. Fill at least half your plate with vegetables, a quarter with lean protein, and the last quarter with whole grains or healthy starches. This balanced approach ensures you get fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants alongside your protein. And here at West, another myth that plant-based proteins are enough on their own for everyone over 60. While it's true that beans, lentils, and tofu are excellent, older adults often have a harder time digesting large amounts of legumes, and plant proteins are generally less concentrated than animal proteins. That does not mean you should avoid them. Absolutely include them. But combining them with lean meats or fish can give you the best of both worlds. Now let's get into some practical strategies. First, plan your meals. Instead of waiting until you're hungry and grabbing whatever's easy, take a little time to prepare. For example, bake a tray of chicken breasts on Sunday, portion them out, and use them in salads, wraps, or stir-fries throughout the week. Keep canned tuna or salmon in your pantry for quick, protein-rich meals. Choose lean cuts of pork or turkey when they on sale and freeze portions for later use. Meal prep isn't just for young athletes. It is a lifesaver for seniors who want to eat healthy without stress. Second, use cooking methods that enhance health. Grilling, baking, steaming, or slow cooking are your best friends. Avoid frying or cooking meats at very high temperatures because that can create harmful compounds like advanced glycation end products, AGEs, which contribute to inflammation and aging. Slow cooking, on the other hand, tenderizes meat and makes it easier to chew and digest, which is especially important if you've had dental issues. Third, pay attention to seasoning. Many older adults struggle with high blood pressure, and salt is often the hidden culprit. Instead of reaching for the salt shaker, use herbs, spices, lemon juice, or vinegar to add flavor. Garlic, turmeric, rosemary, and black pepper not only taste great, but also have anti-inflammatory or antioxidant benefits. So you're not just seasoning, you're adding medicine from nature. Let's also address a few common questions. One question I hear often is, can I ever eat bacon again? The answer is yes, but it should be a rare treat, not a staple. Think of it like dessert, something you enjoy once in a while, not every day. Another question is rotisserie chicken healthy? The answer depends. If you eat the skin and it's heavily seasoned with salt, Not really. But if you remove the skin and pair it with vegetables, it can be a quick, reasonable choice. A third common question is, what about deli turkey slices? They say they're lean. Aren't they good? Unfortunately, even lean deli meats are often packed with sodium and preservatives, so they fall under the avoid list. Always go for fresh whenever possible. I want to pause here and ask you, what has been the hardest part for you when it comes to changing your diet? Is it giving up old favorites, finding the time to cook, or maybe convincing family members to support your changes? Share your struggles in the comments, because your story might help someone else realize they're not alone. Now let's circle back to why all of this matters. After 60, your choices today shape your independence tomorrow. Weak muscles don't just mean less strength. They mean higher fall risk, slower recovery from illness, and reduced quality of life. Poor heart health doesn't just mean higher numbers on a chart. It means breathlessness, fatigue, and missing out on the activities you love. But here's the hope. You have more power than you think. By swapping bacon for salmon, fried chicken for baked turkey, or ribs for lean pork tenderloin, you are literally rewriting your health future one meal at a time. I'll share one more story. A man in his late 70s once told me he thought it was too late to make changes. He had already been diagnosed with heart disease, and he believed nothing he did could help. But when he replaced processed meats with fish and poultry, started walking daily, and added a multivitamin with omega-3 supplements, his health markers improved. His cholesterol came down, his energy went up, and he told me he could play with his grandchildren again without feeling exhausted. That's the power of change at any age. It's never too late. So here's my challenge for you. This week, replace just one bad meat with one good meat. Maybe swap bacon for scrambled eggs with salmon, ribs for a turkey breast, or fried chicken for baked chicken with herbs. Small steps add up, and the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Before we close, I want to invite you again. Leave a comment sharing your age and what changes you're going to try this week. And if you've had success already, if you gave up processed meats and felt better, tell us your story. Sharing inspires others. And don't forget to subscribe, because we're building a community here. Every week, we post practical health advice for people over 60 on nutrition, sleep, supplements, joint health, and more. By subscribing, you're not just watching videos, you're joining a movement to age stronger and smarter together. Finally, if you want to take things one step further, check the description below. We've included links to supplements and resources like omega-3 capsules, turmeric for inflammation, and memory-supporting vitamins that can help you put today's advice into action. Supporting your health has never been easier, and these small investments can bring big returns in energy, clarity, and longevity. Remember, aging is inevitable, but suffering is optional. By making wise choices, you can write a different story for yourself, one filled with strength, vitality, and joy. You deserve that, and it starts with what's on your plate tonight.